you're in the same place.
Just
We're in
pushed live. So,
Michigan.
oh, Richard's coming in. Hang on, let me add him in here. Mr. Richard.
And then
Are
make
we
it do the
live?
intro.
We're
Are you
live.
letting people
Yeah.
in? Oh, we're live.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hey, look, we're live.
Sorry for the
look
warning.
at that.
Or
Nice
lack
shirt,
of.
Rich.
Ooh, yeah, that is nice. We're live.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we're not,
Okay.
Rich. We're not, Rich. We're not live. Say what you
Don't
mean.
get me in trouble again. I'm just gonna assume we're live.
Say that one more
come
time.
on, come on. Good evening, everyone. Super excited to be with you guys again. It's been too long. We should do this weekly. No, we shouldn't do it weekly. You guys will definitely get tired of us too fast if we do it weekly. Lots of cool things tonight, or at least two cool things tonight. Brian, has too many virtual classes with Brandon. I'm thinking Brandon. Brian has two really cool case studies for tonight. I don't really know what else we're going to talk about. I think I will mention what is coming up. We have Vision coming up, right? That's like in a couple weeks, virtual Vision anyways. Definitely check that out. Some of the cool things about these virtual conferences is that we can go back and view the recorded sessions. I think that's pretty cool. Vision is coming up. I don't know the dates, but I know Brian has the website pulled up and ready to go for the ASA X50 event. That one has not been probably promoted the same amount as others, so some of you may not be familiar with it. It's really cool. ASA, Automotive Service Association, been around for I don't know, 50 or 60 years if you aren't familiar with them. There's a national association, and there are like regional affiliates. Vision was ASA Midwest. They are now MWACA, Midwest Auto Care Alliance, but that's just kind of give you an idea what who ASA is. But the X50 event is going to be April 30th and May 1st, and it ASA National along with all of the affiliates across the country, which is pretty cool. All the affiliates are working together to put this conference on. I can't say I know a lot about the classes. I know that they're not live yet. I can tell you the virtual experience is pretty cool. It's going to be kind of probably the most live-like experience because you're going to be able to virtually walk into like expos and stuff. It's kind of neat idea. Pretty cool gamification stuff. What's really cool about it, I think, without knowing a lot about classes, I think that we do know about a couple that might be involved, and we may, you never know, we might be involved. So
Did you say
check it out.
Gamification? What is that?
Gamification
That's a big
is just
word.
yeah.
I'm Googling it.
Hang on.
Gamification, I don't know. Maybe I'm curious to see what you find there, Keith. Basically, just lots of cool stuff to kind of make it more fun and have chances of winning things. So, should be really. I've attended other conferences that have done things like that. Bimmers last year was really. I'm not really a big games person, but for some reason, it just made it kind of fun to do this. Some of these games and put yourself in a position to win some really cool prizes. So. That's what gamification is. But yeah, definitely look forward to that. Again, Vision, I think, I don't really know. You guys, anything else coming? Virtual experiences?
Well,
anything live that we know of? I think is the Ratchet and Wrench. No, that's management, obviously, but I saw a thing for it today. It looks like it actually might be live.
How much longer does the recorded version of Pave last?
So it might be over. They had it for 6 weeks. I don't remember exactly when Pave was. They had it.
Oz told me he watched it last week.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was.
I know it's probably coming close to expiring, but it's usually about 6 weeks. I think the Motor Age one they just did is the same deal. I think it was about 6 weeks you could watch. So that's kind of the trend with the virtual stuff is they're letting you watch the stuff, for several weeks after the event, which to me is pretty awesome.
Yep.
Anything else that you guys know of virtually or has anybody heard anything else live in person? Like I said, I think the Ratchet and Wrench one looks like for those management service advisors, shop owners, primarily for those of you who might be interested in looking at that. That might be live if you're not, if you're open to doing something like that, I guess. But
I'm excited for STX 2022.
STX 2022. I had the
Yes.
dates. Rich, do you have the dates for that?
March.
I think it's March.
March 23rd to the 27th. I literally just looked it up
I think it's 20
for my class.
I think it's 24th. That's 23rd to 24th to the 27th. That's it.
And we're all going to hope that it's in person and everything works beautifully.
Yeah, I
It's
certainly
Florida.
hope so by then.
Anything goes. It's in Florida.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
all
in
right,
Florida.
all
We're
Come on
pretty wide
down.
open here.
Speaking of that, my coworker was in Florida last week, and he was surprised on how open it was.
Yeah,
compared
it's
to
definitely
Ohio.
open. I did a mobile job for a shop today, and they had a sign up that says "mask not required" on the door.
Discouraged, completely discouraged.
Is anybody really surprised how open Florida is? I mean, honestly.
Well,
Moving on. Anyway.
You have bad things to say about everything except for Long Island, I feel like.
Oh, Long Island's a trash pit.
they have good iced.
Long Island is Connecticut.
They have good iced tea. Long Island iced tea, right?
I'm just impressed at how many people are actually here tonight from Texas, in the frozen state
Wow.
of Texas, that are actually popping in.
Yeah, for real.
Dude, they just got power back on their crazy board and trying to warm up. They're trying to warm up to us, guys.
Apparently, Oz is actually using one of those little turn crank things to keep his phone charged as he's talking to us.
One of those shaky flashlights
Yeah.
to charge his phone.
He's real good at shaking up the flashlight, is what you're saying.
Oh.
What? I'm saying he's using a flashlight. He's good at using a flashlight. Where are you guys going with this?
I was waiting for a South Park Shake Weight reference to pop up. But anyway.
Again, not me. That was you, man. This was all you.
All right.
So what's going on tonight, guys? While we're here, Brian's got some case studies. Anything else?
Rich, are you doing one? Or who's
If we
doing
have
one?
time, I have one, but you know.
Why don't you go first since
Brian's.
I have two? Or I can go first and then you can go and then I'll go again.
I saw the preview. How's your neighbor, Rich? Is he good?
My neighbor? Oh, it's my son's kid. You talk about
Is
Joe?
it Joe? Joe?
Yeah.
Pep and Joe, yeah.
These are inside jokes. Moving on. Go ahead, Brian. You do one, then I'll do mine.
All right, let me pull this up. Okay, let me share my screen.
Mike, we want to see that. We want to see that lamp again, bud.
That
Turn your
beautiful
camera
dome. And his ceiling.
Yeah, exactly. The ceiling lamp.
All right. Blah, 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 blah. Presentation.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody can see that. 2013.
Very, very small.
We see
No.
a tiny
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah, wrong page.
You're,
It's like
you're,
picture
you're
in
sharing
picture
the
in
wrong
picture.
thing.
Oh. Well, that's for you guys. Let me. They can see it because I can see it on OBS.
Oh, okay.
But let me fix that because I want
Yep.
you guys, I want you guys to be able to see it. So.
Should we act surprised if we already know the case?
Yeah, you're not allowed to talk, Bryn, because you're in this a little bit.
There we go.
All right, everybody can see.
You got that nude picture of me in here?
It's in there
I do.
somewhere.
We all do.
All right, 2013 Chevy Malibu from hell. This is the original customer complaint was the AC is off, engine temperature hot is on the dash. A little message on the instrument cluster. This was tested by a coworker of mine. The way it was written up from when I finally received the RO of when the car came back was that the technician had found that the thermostat was faulty. They said there was poor heat, and he said that the engine coolant temperature sensor that's inside of the thermostat housing was faulty. If you're aware, the GM thermostat housing has a connector on it. That connector is not an engine coolant temperature sensor as my coworker thought. It's actually a electrically assisted thermostat. It's controlled by the PCM, and it's actually a little heater inside of the thermostat, and the whole reason for that heater is so the engine control module has more control over the thermostat. It can assist it to open it sooner than when it naturally would with the engine coolant temperature. So right away I'm thinking to myself, he said that the engine coolant temperature sensor was faulty in the thermostat. Right away I'm already thinking that's probably what happened. Probably misdiagnosed it. The engine coolant temperature may be faulty, but that's not the part that was replaced. Now he did say that the engine had poor heat, the car had poor heat, so maybe he fixed something, I don't know. But I'm going to pull it in and just to see what's going on. I pull it in, I have a PL171 for a lean code. Okay, that's absolutely nothing to do with the cooling system. So I'm going to begin my diagnostic testing on this. This one was actually pretty easy. It didn't take long at all. I found the crankcase ventilation hose that is on the intake duct was cracked. Just like a Volkswagen, it's made of plastic. It's got hot oil passing through it, and of course over time the plastic breaks down, becomes brittle, and the next person to check the air filter breaks that hose. So the hose is broken. The hose was replaced, and I go ahead and I test drive the vehicle. I'm test driving that vehicle. I have nice heat blowing on me. It's in the middle of February, and the engine coolant temperature is buried. It's cold, but I have hot air blowing on me. This is just a generic photo that I had found online. The needle was actually beyond cold. It was not. It was on the rest position. It was not registering at all. So my next step was to pull it back in, confirm the cooling system components are correct, and basically start over from the beginning when we had a cooling system problem. The original problem was that there was a message on the dash saying that the engine coolant temperature was hot, the AC was disabled, and that's why the customer originally brought this car in for us. So I pull it in. The car actually has two different coolant sensors. There's one in the radiator, and there's also one on the engine coolant temperature sensor and the radiator temperature sensor. There's two different ones. Naturally, the radiator coolant temperature sensor should be colder than the engine coolant temperature sensor. There's, obviously the radiator's job is to cool off the engine coolant. Therefore, it should always be somewhat cooler than the one that's on the engine, where the heat comes from. So I look in data, and I notice that the radiator temperature sensor was actually hotter than the engine coolant temperature sensor. Now that's not normal at all. I'm wondering what the heck that could be. And it was significantly different. Like the engine coolant temperature was, I think, about 70 degrees, and the radiator was at about operating temperature, so like 180, something like that. I don't remember exactly. I didn't take photos of it because I didn't plan on doing a case study. So I go to the engine coolant temperature sensor real quick. I look at it. What? And it's physically broken. That's what that little red mark is.
Come on, man.
I don't have photos. I had to draw this for you.
What's the orange hair coming?
That's the deck spool leaking out of it.
I got you.
That's the orange deck spool. It's cracked. All right, the engine coolant temperature sensor is cracked. That's what their red mark is. Coolant
Man, you're such an artist.
Awesome case study, Picasso.
Coolant is leaking out of it, and it's actually shorting across the terminals that are now exposed because the plastic part of the sensor is broken. So that's why the resistance value of that sensor is not correct. It's why it's reporting incorrectly. It's reporting colder, and that's my problem. So I go ahead and get a sensor. I put it in, test drive the vehicle. I have now an engine that's at operating temperature on the dash. Everything's happy. I'm driving around. Check engine lights on.
That guy's from Florida.
Whoa.
I'm like,
crap.
Don't do it.
I'm sure you've all been there before. You're staring at the check engine light. You're like, what the heck? I know I fixed it. I fixed it twice.
Your neck grew.
I gotta be honest, I'm looking at this picture and I don't see a check engine light.
More like check my pulse light.
Holy Florida Batman.
All right, so
the hills have eyes. He's got braces, guys. This guy.
The more you look at it, the better.
This guy cares about us.
Look at his Adam's apple. I think it's bruised. Is he bleeding from the nose, or is that the sweet mustache?
Let's call him do anything for 20.
We keep on going, or should I let you do your thing?
Oh, we're never going to get there.
Moving on. I pull the vehicle back in. Check codes. I have a PO102 mass airflow sensor circuit, low frequency. This is where Bryn Klein comes in. The code description says that the ECM detects that the mass airflow sensor signal parameter is less than 100 hertz for at least 500 cylinder firing events. So basically, nothing. If 100 hertz is very minimal as far as what a mass airflow sensor will produce. Here's a known good example. This is just something I found online. This car is running at 3,000 RPMs roughly, and it's 3,800 hertz. So that's what a known good should look like. On my scan tool, which I also don't have a photo of, the mass airflow.
You should have drew that too.
I could.
Did you bring the picture back of the guy?
That's what you draw, guy.
You're making this hard on me.
Giggity.
All right, and we're done. All right, so that's a known good example. 3,800 hertz at 3,000 RPMs. I have nothing. I can't get any frequency from that mass airflow. The grams per second is 0. This thing is dead. The mass airflow is actually integrated into what they call a multifunction intake air sensor. That's no longer just a mass airflow sensor. That is also, if you see at the bottom here, it's 2 different intake air temperature sensors. It's also a humidity sensor, and it's also a mass airflow, and of course the barrel pressure sensor as well. So there's a lot going on in that one little part. So looking at a wiring diagram, I know this is not OE, and I'm sorry, Keith, but it was easy to present. Real quick, the black wire is ground. I verified that is correct. The violet with blue is a 12-volt feed coming from a fuse. That is also good. And then after that, there are 3 different signal wires. If you go to the description that's on the actual ECM, it says sensor signal. And then you go to the other one, it says sensor signal bank 1. And then the third one, mass airflow signal. Now, which one do you guys think is actually the the frequency one that I should be looking at? If you had to guess. Anybody?
C.
Anybody? 15, 45, or 52? Which one would you choose?
None of the above.
I'm going to guess 15.
See, that's the problem, is no matter what you choose, you're always going to be guessing. So we're not going to guess. We're going to go to service info and find it. Pin 6.
That was a trick question, man. That's not fair.
Yeah,
I was right.
You guys guessed. You shouldn't have guessed. You should have told me to go to service info, Brian. It's right in there. You got
Brian,
nice connector view.
Go to service info.
Okay. Pin 6, mass airflow sensor. The other ones are probably the barrel or the humidity, or...
It's pin 6.
It's pin 6, which is the green and white wire. So real quick, I'm scoping the mass airflow sensor, key on engine off. I have what looks to be a frequency, and then key on engine running. And I have a frequency that looks kind of like crap. There's a lot going on there. Not sure what that is. Zooming in on that a little bit, it again looks bad. This car's running. It seems to be running decent, so it's plugged in.
You have 2 channels. This is just, you're testing at 2 different locations, the same wire.
2 different locations. This is the green channel is at the mass airflow, and the yellow channel is at the PCM. That might be backwards. I'm not exactly sure. But the point is, they are identical. There's not a wiring problem. That's what I was trying to rule out. This is actually a capture that I took later on, but I didn't have a photo of it. So, In the pinpoint description, they have you, of course, check the powers and grounds, and then if those are good, again, that's in GM's way of having you check the powers and grounds. You're using a voltmeter, you're using an ohm meter, you know. It works if you do it. It's just kind of time consuming if you do it their way, but it is valid. But anyways, the last step that they have you do is after you confirm that the circuit integrity is good, you're going to then use a signal generator in place of where the mass airflow signal is, and look at the scan tool to see if the frequency matches the frequency that you are inputting from your signal generator onto the car. If you set it to 5,000 hertz, you should see 5,000 hertz on your scan tool. Seems to make sense. I, however, do not have a frequency generator on me. I have one at home. I don't have one at work. I decide I'm going to put a mass airflow in it because this.
Hey Brian, can you go back one page?
Yeah.
Joe would like to know: is that actual scan data or a scope, or did you draw that?
This is. I mean, it's a snap-on, so it is kind of like hand drawn. If I was, I won't go into that.
Yeah, moving on.
All right, so I decide to go to the parts store and get a new signal generator, my new mass airflow. That is the job of the mass airflow. The PCM provides a 5 volt to this mass airflow, and the mass airflow's job is to pull it to ground in the frequency that matches or corresponds with the amount of air mass passing across it. So it's this guy's job to pull that sensor to ground. So I go ahead and I put one in. This is the same exact capture, but it's the same exact problem. There was no change in between the new one and the old one. So my guess was wrong. That mass airflow was not the problem with this car.
Parts cannon.
That wasn't a guess. You were putting a signal generator on there.
Exactly. I didn't have one. I had to choose something else. So I'm running this thing. I'm thinking to myself, what should I do here? I'm talking to Bryn about it, and I run it a little bit longer, and I start seeing this.
I feel the picture of the guy would have also been appropriate.
Now, what the hell is this? Those of you that have scoped things before, what do you see here? What value do you see in this capture? Now, I said before that the engine control module provides a 5 volt to the mass airflow. What do we have here?
Ooh, way more than 5 volts.
More than 5 volts. What else do we have? Brendan, don't talk.
Oh, I mean, if nobody else is going to respond, I guess I should, huh?
Wait, is that second channel just flatlined?
That second channel I have disconnected. It's just.
Oh, okay. All right.
The practical mechanic says the inductive kick. Yeah, there is. That's absolutely right. There is an inductive kick on this capture. Now, what could cause an inductive kick on a mass airflow sensor signal?
Any spark plugs?
My initial thought was maybe this is shorted to an injector. Exactly. That looks kind of like an injector. But Bryn mentions to me that the frequency of that does not match ignition or in an injector. An injector is going to have much more time between the pulses. You're going to have a lot more time. The frequency is going to be much slower than what you see on here. So I'm like, I don't know what it is, but I'm going to begin doing some testing. Real quick, the inductive kick, I'm going to explain this real quick. The windings inside of an electric solenoid, they produce a magnetic field when that solenoid is energized. Each time that solenoid is fired, that magnetic field that is used in the solenoid will have to collapse. And when it collapses, you get this inductive kick that happens on the capture you have here. That spike is called the inductive kick. So that is proof that there's some type of magnetic output that is on the circuit. Now, this is a mass airflow. That doesn't make sense at all unless there's some type of short. So my first step here is to now go to the PCM. I'm at pin 52, and I'm going to start seeing if I can correlate that inductive kick to something else, like a transmission control solenoid, anything I possibly can. And the moment I start doing this type of testing, my master flow signal improves. You see on the capture here, it looks perfect. I start the car up, I'm looking at my scan data, my grams per second have now come alive, the frequency is alive in the scan data, and it's good to go. Everybody's happy. So I just fixed this car. But I don't know what I did. All I did was kind of unhinge the PCM from its little cradle, and I moved it over, and it's now fixed. So funny, Rich. Control yourself.
It's Martino. You gotta blame Martino.
What did he do?
Go look at his camera.
All right, hang on.
Leaving everybody hanging.
Yeah.
You're driving, Brian. You can't look off the road. You got to keep your eyes on the road, man.
All right, focus.
That was my fault. I distracted him. It's all me.
All right, so my car is now fixed. Now what do I do? I retrace my steps. I know I just moved that PCM a little bit, and now the now the car is fixed. So I'm gonna see if I can move that PCM again to see if I can get that signal to start acting up again. And you'll have a little video here. Let me move this out of the way. Okay. And this little video here, you can see I have that car's running. You can see the capture is decent. I'm moving wires around. Car stumbles a little bit, and the signal's breaking up.
Yeah. Where's the sound?
They can hear it. I don't think you can.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Am I the only one waiting for the flames?
No no flames in this one. I'll play this one more time in case I need to see it one more time. Wiggle the wires, wiggle the wires. Alright, so what's wrong with this car? Is it pin tension? Is it potentially a bad ground? The first thought that came to my mind when I originally saw that inductive kick was, maybe the PCM has a ground that's just is barely hanging on or something, and we have some kind of backfeeding problem within the board of the PCM. So I'm going to check grounds. That's kind of the thought I had going into this. So I go to the PCM connector, and while I have this thing out, I'm going to do a drag test as well as on all these terminals. I get my AES Wave terminal kit, and I'm checking every one of these pins to look for tension. Make sure every one of these feels the same. I check every single one is perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. I see no sign of anything in this connector. So I know there's something going on. There's probably got to be something going on the back end of this connector that I just can't see. I decide to pop off this little plastic shell here. And I have green. I have a lot of Ohio inside my connector. Now if you look, the master flow sensor that I have labeled is right next to the purge solenoid control. So what happened here?
Purge solenoid was touching that signal wire.
Exactly. That corrosion has bridged the two adjacent terminals, and water, moisture, corrosion has built up, and I'm getting purge solenoid noise basically, or shorted to the master flow signal. So I cleaned the connector. I was able to clean it up without having to replace any connectors. I put Stabilant on the terminals, put it back together, and the car is just fine. Real quick, master flow sensor on the left. That's what I had. If you look on the right, if you've ever scoped a purge solenoid, I found a known good purge solenoid capture. That looks pretty damn the same, don't it? Mm-hmm. Test drive the vehicle, and the car's fixed.
Is that a real picture of the customer, Brian?
That's actually me.
Actually, he drew that.
Did the engine coolant sensor leak engine coolant into the harness?
That's what I was wondering.
Well, That's a good thought. I don't know what that third terminal is. I should look that
No,
up.
that was Ohio in the connector. He was very clear.
I suppose it could be. That's a good thought.
We'll find out when it comes back in a year.
Well, the coolant temp sensor was fixed, so. But that third.
I mean, it's cleaned up, yeah.
That third terminal on the bottom, maybe that's engine coolant. I didn't look that up. I kind of want to know now. It very well could be. I don't know. So, let me just go back real quick. There it is.
So one little trick you can do, because that coolant is always in that harness, so without changing the harness, you can depin both ends of that wire and put a bead of solder on both sides so the water doesn't wick anymore.
Yeah, that's a good thought. Yep.
Sorry, I'm locked down with my mask. I'm not allowed to have a mask in the hotel lobby.
But the guy behind you can.
He's scaring the shit out of me.
Bro, take that down. I can see the guy's nose hairs, bro.
Rich, what you got, man?
Yeah, Chad asked, where's the pin for the coolant temp sensor? That's a good question. I should look it up. I kind of want to do that. Maybe I'll do that while you guys are doing the next.
Hey, you guys remember those like 3800 coolant temp sensors in a Radiator? They'd get like air pockets behind them and never work.
Yeah.
I hated those things.
Yep.
Thank God they don't make them like they used to.
Yes, sir.
All right. Do we have time for mine?
Hell yeah.
Weatherman Rich, you're up.
It's 9:47. I just wasn't sure if we were how long we were going here.
Well,
do you have teach it Keith Fazio style and not me?
I'll do
good.
Bryn's first 5 minutes of lunch and learn style.
No, Bryn at Tech Talks. Bryn at Tech Talks.
Bryn at Tech Talks. All right.
Lunch and learn. I got chapped. Brandon's like, slow down, man.
Oh, all right, wait a second. Let me make sure I'm sharing my screen here. Oh, Brian, you have disabled participant screen sharing.
You're disabled?
I do not have the power.
So you're admitting you're disabled.
They already know that.
All right, you're ready to go.
Let's try this again.
Chris, you better behave.
Are you guys seeing?
Yes.
All right. I need to move some things here because this isn't working for me. 1 second. All right. So
I saw it.
Yeah, I didn't want to spoil the surprise here. I'm gonna try to. I'll try to do this one quickly. I don't know if I can, but I usually have a big long speech to go into this one.
It's a car. It's on wheels.
Yeah.
You can approach it the same way.
No, the point here, what I wanted to say at the very beginning here is, we got a phone call. I got a phone call about this truck with an intermittent electrical problem, and as the truck's on its way to us, I say to myself, "Oh, this is going to be a cool case study. An intermittent electrical problem would be cool." And I'm going to record everything I do in this truck. And when I got done with it, I had less than 5 minutes of video. And at first I thought to myself, well, that's not enough for a real case study or a TBT video. So I guess that was a waste of time. And I started thinking about it. And I said to myself, wait a minute, I was physically touching the truck for less than 5 minutes. And I diagnosed the truck in less than 5 minutes. But the reason that I was able to do that was because of the research I did ahead of time. So this case study walks through understanding the circuit, and it's that 15 or 20 minutes or an hour of research ahead of time that allows someone to walk up to the car, knowing the circuit, knowing how it's supposed to work, do some very simple tests, and say, okay, I know where the problem is.
And look like the car whisperer.
Yeah, you look like you're brilliant. It has nothing to do with the tests or the type of test or the tool. It is all about the research ahead of time. So then I decided, okay, let me throw together a case study of my thought process before
preparations
to the truck. Yeah. So yeah, some people saw it was an Isuzu FRR. Let me move forward here.
Is that the
electricity in a commercial vehicle works the exact same way it does in any other car.
Is the FRR the sport version, or is that limited?
I don't know. Maybe that's.
Those things are super fun to drive when the front shocks give out, bouncing around.
Does it have an R badge on it, like you get an AutoZone?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. The FRR. There's 2 R's.
I don't know. I have no idea. But I don't.
FRR.
Yeah, it's
better than the Mitsubishi FU asshole.
We're down near Tampa Bay, so maybe it is a pirate. The FRR, like Chris said. So anyway. So the problem with this thing was that fuse number 7 was intermittently blowing. This is a work truck. The workers just find another fuse, they jab it in there, and if it doesn't blow, they keep on driving it.
A red's a 40, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say, this is one of 3 or 4 different pockets full of blown fuses. So we got anywhere from 10 to 40 amp fuses that are blown. As we go through, you'll see other ones laying all across the floor. There was probably 50 blown fuses in the car.
So must have been a bad batch.
So if we're blowing 40 amp fuses, it's a pretty dead short. And when it blows the fuse, the AC stops working, the cluster goes dead, and it will not restart. If the fuse blows while you're driving down the road, it's a diesel. It just keeps on going, but the battery light comes on and everything else. So, again, I open up the cab. I open up the door. The dash is pulled apart. The fuse panel's laying over the front of the dash. Somebody's already been in here before. I'm probably 3rd or 4th person to get it. And it's working. At this moment in time, I start up the truck. The dash is working. The air is working. It's got a 30 amp fuse where a 15 amp fuse should be. So my first thought is, how is this supposed to work? What is fuse number 7 supposed to supply power to? So for those of you who work on these trucks, you're probably familiar with this, but I did not have any access to Isuzu wiring diagrams. So Isuzu truck service, it's $15 for 3 days. So it was dirt cheap, just pass the savings on to the customer. On an older truck like this, their wiring diagrams leave some things to be desired. But I will say on the newer ones, because since fixing this truck, we've got other ones. The newer Isuzu wiring diagrams are awesome. They include physical pictures of the truck of where components are. So keep that in mind. If you're, a shop that only gets one NPR a month or every 6 months, it's pretty cheap to get your service information. So I pick 97. I pick my FRR 71 diesel service manual, and this window pops up. Now, a little tip for everybody. I don't know if this works for all of the Isuzu service information, but once this window is up, all of those links, everything you see up along the side here, work. I fixed this truck. I came back a week later to the same shop, and they hadn't shut the computer down. They hadn't closed this window. All of those links, all of that information still worked. So I guess you pay your $15 and you have access to this window for 3 days. But as long as you don't close it, you've got it.
Well, that's nice if you got a fleet of them. Just nobody close the window.
Exactly. So,
or else.
Yeah. So, like I said, the newer wiring diagrams are nicer. This is kind of old school, and you really only have 2 views. You have this view where you can't see anything, and you have the extreme close-up. So a little bit of creative cut and paste and dragging it into Windows Viewer or Paint, and I kind of got it to a position where I could make sense of it. And what you notice, the first most frustrating thing was finding fuse 7. There's fuses right here. There's fuses up here. There's fuses over here. There's fuses in the top corner or over that way. Sorry, I'm trying to play weatherman here. And it took me a while to find fuse number 7, so I'll highlight it for you. It's right there in that red box. Now, we talked about PAVE, and one of the classes at PAVE was George Menchu's wiring diagram class, which I absolutely love.
Here.
One of my favorite things about that class is how he teaches about how we think or how we learn. Not the coloring the wiring diagrams is amazing. So if you get a chance to take that class, or you can still register for PAVE, you can go check that out. But he talks about us, we don't learn everything all at once. We kind of put pieces together. We slowly add things to the puzzle. But I'm gonna use, what he's taught in his class and what I teach in our CTI classes is break out the markers or pens and color it. Color it in, highlight it, do whatever you got to do. When we get further on in this case study, you'll actually see the printed out wiring diagram laying on the floor of the cab, and there's highlighter all over it. But I'm going to color code it just to make some sense out of it, because I need to know what is fuse number 7, the 15 amp fuse, supposed to supply power to, or what is that fuse supposed to protect, so that when I have a problem, I have an idea of where to go with it. Or I have an idea of where to investigate for potential problems. So I'm going to use red. Anytime the key is on, that fuse has power. So to me, that's constant power. Power is red in my book, so I'm going to color everything red. So the first thing this fuse powers up is the neutral safety switch, the alternator light, and it is the excite wire for the alternator, for the generator. It wakes up the generator. The other side of that wire is half the dash. So there's like, what is over there? Voltmeter, speedometer, water meter, all of the gauges. Continuing on with my highlighter, because there's a couple of different splices, is the other half of the dash. So check engine light, brake light, tachometer, things like that. But wait, there's more. It continues on. It goes up to a relay. I'm going to zoom in on this so we can make a little bit more sense out of it, and maybe you can see it a little bit clearer. This is an old school drawing of a relay, but I kind of like how Isuzu lays this out. We know if the key is on, there is power coming into that wire. What is that the symbol for, guys?
That's a shield, like Captain America.
It's a piezo stack.
Yes, yeah. Thanks for helping out here. Thank you.
What symbol? I was trying to change my picture.
It's a ground. If you didn't know, there is a page in Isuzu service information for symbols, for electrical circuit symbols. So that's a ground. That ground is hardwired to the relay. I'm going to make the ground, to me, in my head, it's either black or blue. Black or brown, and brown shows up better, so we'll color that brown. So the first thing that jumps out at me is this wiper relay is on anytime the key is on. This wiper relay is 24 years old. If it's heating up and shorting out, it could cause an intermittent issue, because there is nothing on the ground side to control the relay. If the key is on, the wiper relay is on.
So dumb question here.
Yes.
So the wiper switch is the switch, and that just provides power to the wipers.
Mm-hmm.
So why have a relay?
I have no idea.
Okay, just make sure that made no sense to me either.
But wait, there's more. We'll get to more. So if I turn the key on, my relay, which is nothing more than a little electromagnet, pulls that switch closed.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't care about the top half of the switch, because if we look all the way over, there's fuse number 12 protecting that circuit. That switch has nothing to do with fuse number 7. The only thing that's powering up when I turn the key on, at least right now, is the wiper relay. So if we back out, we've got more. There's a bunch of splices for fuse number 7. He does a lot of different things, and he goes to the PCM. I'm assuming that is just an input to the PCM to let it know the key is turned on. Continuing on, This wire goes on up to a switch and another relay, and we're going to zoom in to see a little bit better here. So right there, air conditioning switch, and right below it, relay, blower relay. And again, power's coming into that relay. We have another ground, which is hardwired right to ground. There is no control on that side of the relay. So that blower relay is powered up anytime the key is on. So in my head, I'm kind of doing a little bit of math. When I turn the key on, I know the alternator gets woken up. I know the instrument cluster wakes up. I know the wiper relay kicks on, and I know the blower relay kicks on. In my head, I'm thinking, well, maybe that's 3 or 4 amps, something like that. We've got a 15 amp fuse. We expect this circuit to maybe pull 5 to 7 amps. I'm just kind of doing a little bit of math in my head to get an idea. The other wire goes to the air conditioning switch, a little blue button on the dash. And now I have to activate the button. I have to turn the button on in order to supply power on down the circuit. So I want to change the color. If I hit the button, it's not constant power anymore, it's switched power. And that switched power goes up to the AC relay. Again, that idea of starting with what you know and putting things together. Well, I know if that top wire is power, the bottom wire needs to be a ground. So if I follow this down, it doesn't go directly to ground. I've got my blower switch. And if we look here, we can see it goes to this large pad here. The blower switch itself is hardwired to ground. So I can color that brown because that's a constant ground. But now anytime I take my switch and I turn it, I'm supplying a ground from the center to each side. So to the blower resistor or blower motor directly in high speed and to that ground.
Hey, Rich?
Yes?
Just want to let you know you're giving away your euro with your brown ground wires.
I know. So now we have a switched ground side. I want to change that color. I want to be able to look at my wiring diagram and all those different colors and go, okay, there's constant power, there's controlled or switched power, there's constant ground, and there's switched ground. So I use green just because it shows up good. And that when the blower switch is turned on, the AC relay will activate. At the same time, it supplies power to the little bulb inside of the switch itself. So I've kind of got an idea. That's the entire circuit. Out of all of those wires, that's the only thing that matters. I want to back up here for a second because I want to highlight something. There's my condenser fans. And we can see my condenser fans have 2 10 amp fuses. They go to a different relay and then another fuse further on down the page there, fuse 15. Keep that in mind. We'll come back to that. They have nothing to do with what we're dealing with right now. So there's a couple of things. At this point, I know that when I turn the key on, that fuse gets power. I know that that fuse supplies power or protects the circuit for the entire instrument cluster, the alternator, or wakes up the alternator. I know that that relay is going to be powered up, the wiper relay and the blower relay. Again, in my head, a couple of amps, maybe 2-3 amps, something like that. I also know that I can put a bigger load on that fuse by turning that switch on. If I have the AC switch and the blower switch on, I'm going to add, I don't know, what's a relay draw? Some a half an amp at the absolute most, assuming maybe this is some big commercial vehicle relay. So I'm still thinking to myself, under normal circumstances, when I turn the key on, I should see an amp or 2. And if I hit the AC button and the blower switch, I might see it climb a little bit more. So I know how the circuit works. It's time for me to go to the vehicle. Now, one thing I will say, this was a little bit of wishful thinking. There's my fuse, and we see a bunch of these splices everywhere with the wires going in a bunch of different directions. When I got to the truck, the fuse panel is hanging out the dash, and I was really hoping that some of these splices were there. I was really hoping that I could take my amp clamp and I could put it around this wire and isolate just the current for that wiper relay, or just for the neutral safety switch, or just for the alternator. But none of that was there. I only had one choice, and that was to put the wire around the yellow wire coming off the back of the fuse. I couldn't go down here. Gotcha. So anyway, we go to the vehicle. It's supposed to be a 15 amp fuse. There's a 30 amp fuse in there. So you can see, ignore the melted 15 amp fuse right below it. That's a circuit that was working just fine, apparently. So if the dash wasn't completely apart, I would have got my good old AES wave amp loop, and I would have popped that fuse out and put this in. But the yellow wire right behind it was easily accessible, and just put my amp clamp right on that. So let me see if this video will play. Can you guys hear that? No.
They might be able to hear it, no?
They might be. All right, so...
Yeah, they'll be able to hear it. We won't.
All right.
Well, I don't hear it, so they won't.
I'm going to pause it. I'm going to pause it in one spot anyway. Once my fat thumb gets out of the way. I didn't say it was good video. I just said 5 minutes of video. So
Man, it's a nice day. It was
yeah,
a nice
beautiful
day.
out. Yeah,
Nice clouds.
It was a nice day out at the barn. So right now, the key is on. The fuse is intact, and I'm drawing a little under 2 amps. The dash is working. I'm assuming those relays are doing what they're supposed to do, but everything seems fine. So my thought was, well, let me hit the AC button and let's see what happens. And I hope the guys can hear it. Actually, you know what? Well, hold on one second.
Oh, you're gonna do the trick you taught me.
Let's see.
There it is.
Can you hear it?
Maybe.
So
I am turning the air on.
I'm hitting that blue button.
Off. And this is the gauge for the fuses.
This is the fuse for the gauges. I said the gauge for the fuses.
We can hear you now.
Okay. Oh!
That's the guy.
What did I do?
I am turning the air on. The key on, engine off. And this is the gauge for the fuses.
The fuse for the gauges. Can you hear the fans?
I hope you can hear the sound.
What does that waveform look like?
Blower motor?
Yeah. Or a fan? Or electric motor of some type?
Yeah, some motor. Yeah.
Condenser fans are kicking on.
I can hear the condenser fans kicking on.
Something doesn't seem right to me.
So, anytime I hit the blue button, the condenser fans kick on.
More than 40 amps.
Yeah, something's not right because the condenser fans shouldn't be kicking on. But if we go back, there's the condenser fans. They have nothing to do with this circuit whatsoever. So my next plan was go look at the condenser fans. You know, what the heck is going on at the condenser fans? Let's do a quick visual inspection, see if anybody's done anything. And, you know, keep in mind, we're just...
Our condenser fans. And I'm hoping I can put this in here.
Look at the burn spot. Right
Hold it away.
there. That wire was laying on that piece of metal.
Put your hand back up there, Rich.
Like that?
Wouldn't you like to have tiny hands like that so you can get into tighter spaces?
Oh, yeah. The size of a wire.
Solve the mystery of fuse.
That is our dead short.
We still need to solve the mystery of why are the condenser fans coming on.
Why is it part of that circuit, though?
The current flowing through the two 10 amp fuses that it's supposed to.
So, I mean, the first thing I see is this laying right against the body, and I go, okay, there's our dead short. And to be honest with you, I touched that against the metal and blew the fuse. the first time I was looking at it. But the second thing I noticed was this wire, with this black wire just jabbed up into the barrel connector, and the pink one is jabbed up into the other one. That is a wire. That's not an original wire, and it is into the condenser fans. So we figured out the dead short. I got lucky. The first thing I looked at, I found it. And that just needs to be fixed. But we still need to know, why aren't the fans kicking on? So
I'm surprised this ever worked, because a lot of cooling fans have significant current draw, where any small fuse is not going to be able to power them. It'll blow.
I mean, you know, it's two electric fans,
especially the inrush current. You know, you can.
So, you know, obviously this fuse wasn't designed to protect that circuit with those fans hooked up to it, but at the same time we had a dead short. So there's my wiring diagrams with all my highlighted wire. I didn't break out the colored pencils. I just highlighted the feed side to make sense of what circuits were coming on. But
so hopefully you can hear the fans running in the video. These are the two fuses. Yes, I know in the wiring diagram they were 10s, so somebody's already swapped them out for 15s. But these two fuses should be powering or supplying power, protecting the circuit for the condenser fans. Nothing there. The other one, nothing there. My guess is...
And I was right.
Where is it? That might have something to do with it. The missing relay. But you saw the wire, that gray wire down at the condensers. Here he is. And we can see how it is professionally run. Over here. And it goes up behind the dash. And what it is actually hooked up to is this switch. Fans are off. Fans are on. So the relay or wiring to the condenser fans failed. Somebody in their infinite wisdom hardwired it directly to the AC switch. We know from our wiring diagram the AC switch receives its power from fuse number 7. And that fuse is not meant to supply power or protect a circuit that draws condenser fan current, not to mention a shorted wire. So we've got some wiring repair to do, but at least we know what's going on.
So what I don't have in this case study, and in the interest of time, we'll just get cut to the chase, is that plug that I was pointing to was a missing relay. So I don't know whether the relay failed or it was pulled and you know, somebody was playing Swaptronics. The condenser fans wouldn't work. Somebody hardwired it right to the switch. Once I put the right relay in, after looking at the wiring diagram, and unplugged those wires, the whole system went back the way it's supposed to. So again, this was just pre-planning your diagnostics by looking at the wiring diagram. The physical amount of time I spent on this truck was longer putting everything back together that somebody else had taken apart than the actual diagnosis itself. So
cool.
That is, I think that's it. Do I have? No, that was it. That was it.
What happened to Joe?
Fucking Joe.
Do we need to explain this?
Yeah.
So for everybody out there who isn't in the Zoom meeting here, I was recording this class or this case study that we were going to put out as a video, and my current studio is in my garage, and one of my son's friends has a Infiniti G35 that he thinks is a race car. And it has a ridiculous rice burner exhaust on it. And I get, 30 minutes into an absolutely perfect take of this, and he starts his car 3 feet away from me. So in the middle of me talking about this relay and pointing it and everything, you just hear, brum, 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 and I just go, fucking Joe.
Whoa! Whoa!
Well, I was going to say.
At least I said frickin'.
It's going to come out. Brian has access to that video. It's going to show up somewhere terrible. So, all right. So that was that was it for mine. How did I do on time? I didn't do that bad. Okay.
Great
job. Did I scare everybody away?
You want to quit share?
Hold on. I'm working on that.
All right.
There we go.
Cool. Oh, that was good.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Joe.
Oh, pretty good.
Fucking Joe. Yep.
Freaking Joe. Hey, Poogie.
You want to do yours real quick, Tommy? Tommy, yours is quick.
I don't know, man. It's a little complex. I'm not sure anybody's going to understand me. So it's not really a case study. It's more of an example of how, sometimes we overlook the simplest things ever. Like, super simple. So, I'll make this quick. 2016 Nissan Sentra, push to start vehicle. I got a call from a shop who put a starter in it. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a no start concern. He put a starter in it. He wanted me to program a PCM. So I asked a few questions. I'm like, well, okay. Well, actually, I didn't ask him questions at that point. I'm sorry. I just told him, all right, well, I can't make it to you. I'm by myself. Or if you want to just, tow it over. Oh, it starts and runs. I just have to, jump the solenoid, the solenoid at the relay, and it'll start. I'm like,
so it definitely
okay.
needs a PCM.
Any codes? No. I said, okay. All right, well, as long as it's new, bring it over. It's a 2016. But anyway, gets to the shop. I'm eating lunch, of course, because I'm fat. And
lunch is tasty.
Yes, very tasty, especially here.
I never miss lunch, so you're
not alone. He comes in, he drives it, and he comes in, he hands me a junkyard PCM. I'm like, nah, homie, this ain't gonna work, man. It's a one-time use only. And he's like, well, there's nothing you can do. You can try, we put a starter in this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, are you sure it even needs this, man? Car runs. And I'm like, well, just check it out then, man. Let me know what it needs.
Especially with no codes. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah. So what would you guys do first? I'm eating my lunch and I'm talking to my homie Pedro. And
first thing I would do is call you.
And I'm like,
I'd finish lunch.
What's going on?
It runs, and there are no codes.
Yes.
And he wants you to put a computer in it.
Correct.
All right. Well, I'd use that computer to keep the car from rolling out of the shop. The used one that he gave you.
For sure. This is about the best thing I can do at this point.
I don't know.
So I'm sitting here like eating lunch, and I'm just like, man, watch it be something stupid like the brake switch or something dumb like that or whatever. I'm just spouting out random things. So I get to the car, and I'm like, crap. I get in it. I squeeze into this little junk, and I'm like, man, I forgot my scan tool. Oh, let me confirm his complaint. So I hit the brake pedal, press the button, and yeah, nothing. Okay. But then I noticed that the sign says, press brake pedal and hit the button to start the vehicle. So I'm like,
I am pushing the brake pedal.
Okay. Stick my fat ass head and look behind me. And no brake lights. I'm like, no shit. So I look at this side because sometimes they're wired differently. You'll usually have multiple switches or whatnot. So I go in and look, and on this particular model, ECM and the brake lights work on the same switch, and then there's cruise control and then ABS input on the second switch. So then I crawl underneath this hunk of junk, and then I look for power. I have power on one side. I power the other side and hit the button. I don't know how I did it. I was just doing one of these numbers. And it starts. So, wait another 30 minutes, and then I call him, hey, you need a brake switch. He's like, I don't think so. I said, well, that's okay, but you still need one.
Okay, you need a brake switch and a computer.
Still need one. You still want me to do a computer? Just get one from Nissan, but you need a brake switch, man. So, all in all.
So you put a Dorman brake switch in?
Never forget where you come from, gentlemen. This is the point of the story.
It's a really good point because I mean, just pay attention to the senses. The clues are there. Like the message came up, hit the brake switch.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I know it was super technical, but
no, it's a great point.
It's a good reminder.
It's about the basics.
I got a 2015 Charger, no start. I'm going to tomorrow, and now I'm like, oh crap! Did I even notice if the if that warning went out when I hit the brakes.
I will say I've had a couple of those where the brake lights did work, but it still had a bad brake switch, and the whole reason is that's a multi-switch and one of the circuits was bad and not the one that actually turns the lights on. So
I need to add that I would have been talking to Caesar about this, but he wasn't at work. So
what the heck, Caesar?
Because he's over there, he's commenting on.
I see that. You got a no-show? No call, no-show?
Says you're always talking to Pedro.
Well, maybe I am.
Or is Pedro always talking to you?
I actually prefer that better.
I prefer talking to you.
Hey. So that's what I have.
Oh. Sweet.
I like it, man.
Yeah.
I have one more, but I think I'm going to keep that for next time because it's.
I would like to go.
Oh, a teaser! I like it.
10:20. Yeah, let's do it. I'll do it next time.
I've got another weatherman one I can do for next time. Maybe we'll do next week.
Fucking Joe.
Can we invite your son's friend to start his car up at the end?
That would be perfect. You've got the video. You've got the soundbite. So
I can do it.
I have a feeling that's going to show up in places.
It's not just the soundbite; it's the.
Yeah. Maybe Brian can add the my stroke videos to that too.
Fucking Joe.
Hey, Chris, exactly what is that background?
That's
it looks like me. Yeah.
That's Bryn singing, isn't it?
I got him paused at the right time. Bryn, remember your driving chats? You used to record yourself on the way home. Those good times.
I don't remember. Wish we could share that memory, Chris.
One guy says, "Can we ask questions?" Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can we bring somebody on?
We have to give him a link.
We have time.
Let's have fun. Come on.
What's the question?
I don't know.
He didn't have one. He just wanted to know.
He just
wanted to. That was his question.
So Brian told me to take the mask off. The people behind the front desk at the hotel yell at me.
Why can't you guys do this in your room?
Because that's gay.
And they have to pay for Wi-Fi.
It's the same Wi-Fi.
On the 2.5-liter Toyota, is there a TSB for the P0016, P00117? I've seen quite a few.
That's a good question for voltage drop diagnostics.
Yeah, where you at, PJ?
Where you at, PJ?
What year Toyota?
Give PJ a link.
Grimm's question. Are you guys like me and fix all your own stuff like the furnace and appliances? Chris, don't you have scope captures of your dishwasher?
Not scope captures. I was prepared for scope captures.
Oh.
But there will be a case study coming out.
Yes, we do, Grimm. Or Grimm's Auto Service. Yes, we do. I just don't scope everything. All right. PJ says no TSB on that.
Yeah. Sounds like you need an oil change, partner.
Partner.
But those chains stretch and guides break. All right.
Sounds like a GM problem.
I don't know if Toyota had those problems.
I just found out today one of my former customers stabbed someone in the ribs recently.
Well, if that's not the most randomest shit that come out tonight.
Welcome to Florida.
On other news.
You're welcome.
Hey, one of my this is going back a ways, but one of my rental cars up in Jersey came back covered in blood and scratches. Turns out it was involved in a sword fight.
Wow.
Like
literally
swords or like real swords?
No, like real swords.
Shit.
Like two guys at a flea market got into an argument.
Wait, I was going to say, is it Renaissance fair sword fighting, or is it like fencing? It's a flea market.
Man,
It's
are you
Renaissance.
talking about like swords, or are you talking about machetes?
Like real swords, like they're like you'd
Jesus
see
Christ.
sold at some weird flea market where they sell like Chinese throwing stars and ninja swords. And these two guys picked up swords and had a sword fight on top of one of my cars.
That was a Gettysburg reenactment. That the car was got stabbed by a bayonet.
All right. Have we had enough? Any more questions?
I think we've had enough. I think we overstay our welcome.
I have been on a webinar since 7 o'clock. So has Bryn. So we're
here.
I'll have to find the. I have the news article of the my Buick getting involved in a sword fight.
Oh, that's awesome! Yeah, definitely have to share that next time.
All right.
Thank you, y'all, for your case studies. Very cool of you. Appreciate them.
Like I said, I got one more, so stay tuned for the next one.
That's right. We'll be back. Keith,
just to say a quick thank you also, by the way, we have
a bunch of
Dave Osborne, Philadelphia Auto Diagnostics, Jim Morton, everybody donating money tonight.
Yes,
very much appreciated.
There were a couple of others too we missed. So.
Yeah, I did miss a couple. I'm trying to find them.
Philadelphia Auto Diagnostics.
Yep, got him. Jim Morton, Dave Osborne.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
No, Chris does not have the fire video.
Steve Burgundy.
I was trying to find my dishwasher stuff. Hold on.
No. All right, we're done.
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
We're good. All right.
And